Do you know what's an absolutely phenomenal flavor pairing? Strawberry and matcha. Something about the lovely grassy notes of the matcha goes so well with the sweet yet tangy strawberry flavor. And a lovely way to bring these two star flavors together is in an iced strawberry matcha latte. Okay, let's dive in. Here's everything that you'll need. 1/3 cup of fresh strawberry puree. I tested out this recipe using different methods such as mashing, chopping, or pureeing the strawberries. And I found that the best way to get that strawberry flavor is by pureeing the strawberries. I'll discuss that more in a bit. 1 to 2 teaspoons of cane sugar. You'll want to sweeten the strawberry puree just a bit to really bring out and brighten up the flavors. I simply use cane sugar, but you could use brown sugar, maple syrup, honey, coconut sugar, simple syrup, etc. Personally, I only use 1 teaspoon of sugar, but feel free to increase to your preferences. 3/4 cup of ice cubes. The amount of ice you need may vary based on the size of your ice cubes. I make small ice cubes using these ice cube trays, which I'll have linked below, but if your cubes are larger, you may want to adjust the amount. 1/2 cup of milk. I use whole milk here. Feel free to experiment with oat milk, almond milk, coconut milk, etc. I personally do not like plant-based milks in the majority of iced drinks, but that's just me. I did try out this recipe with coconut milk and I did not care for it. 1/4 cup of heavy cream. I love a rich latte, so I included some heavy cream. Feel free to substitute more milk if you prefer. 2 teaspoons of matcha powder. Make sure to select a high quality matcha powder. If you cheap out here, your drink just won't be as good. I'll discuss this more in a bit. It's also nice to sweeten up the matcha. Again, I prefer just 1 teaspoon of sweetener, but you might like up to a tablespoon or more. And finally, 3 tablespoons of water. There's no need to use hot water here. Cold water works just fine, and then you're not warming up your iced drink any more than you need to. Okay, let's discuss matcha quality for a second. There are actually many different grades or qualities of matcha available. But in the US, these are the 3 grades that are the most common. Culinary matcha is the lowest quality, and of course it's also the most affordable. The color is more dull and brownish, it can have a more bitter flavor than higher grades, and the overall matcha flavor can also be weaker. Latte grade is a step up from culinary grade, and of course it typically has a mid-tier price point. It has a less bitter taste than most culinary grade matchas, but it's not quite as sublime as the 3rd grade, which is ceremonial grade. This is the cream of the matcha crop. It's harvested at just the right time, and it results in a matcha that's a vibrant green color. It's much less bitter than culinary grade, and it can almost have a sweet flavor depending on the brand. I have a whole post reviewing 14 different matcha brands, so make sure to check that out. But for a quick recommendation, I like the Thrive Market ceremonial grade, Matcha Latte grade, Matcha ceremonial grade, and Mizuba culinary grade. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get into actually making this delicious latte. Start by washing your fresh strawberries thoroughly and removing the green tops. You could also thaw frozen strawberries and make that into a puree if that's all you have access to. Place the strawberries in a blender and blend until smooth. This could also be done in a food processor or small bullet blender. You may need to scrape down the sides and stir the strawberries a couple of times before they'll actually start to puree. Also, if you're using a large blender pitcher, you're gonna have to use enough strawberries that the blender can actually puree them all. I've tried doing this with just a few strawberries and it doesn't really work. It's okay if the puree isn't 100% completely smooth, but you don't want any really big chunks because otherwise the puree won't fit through your straw. I don't find it necessary to strain out the seeds, but if you really can't stand strawberry seeds, you could always run the puree through a fine mesh strainer. You'll have extra puree on your hands unless you're making multiple strawberry matcha lattes all at once. So I like to measure out extra puree and store it in little glass jars or an airtight container in the refrigerator. You can also freeze the puree in ice cube trays. Strawberry puree does not last long in the fridge, so this is a great option for longer term storage. Then you can simply place the frozen puree cubes in the fridge to thaw overnight. You can also make this latte by finely chopping a few strawberries and macerating them in the sugar. Then mash them with the back of a fork. However, you need to have a smoothie straw or a boba straw to make it this way. Otherwise, you'll be hard pressed to be able to slurp up the delicious strawberries. Now it's time to whisk up the matcha and the sugar with water. In a small bowl, place the matcha, water, and sugar. Whisk with a bamboo whisk until completely smooth. This should take about 20 to 30 seconds. Now you don't necessarily have to purchase a special whisk for this. You could also use a small regular whisk or even a spoon. However, an actual matcha whisk makes it so much easier to whisk out any clumps in the matcha. If you place the ingredients in a tall glass instead of a shallow bowl, you could use an electric milk frother instead. However, I still find that it's not quite as good as the bamboo matcha whisk. And now we're ready to assemble the drink. First, place the strawberry puree in the bottom of a 16-ounce serving glass or a pint mason jar. Next, add the sugar or sweetener of choice to the bottom layer and mix well. Then add the ice, the milk of choice, and the cream. Okay, here's where the magic happens. Pour the matcha mixture on top of everything. Isn't that just gorgeous? From here, you can either stir together the drink or keep distinct layers. You could also add tapioca pearls to make this into a bubble tea latte. Alright, if you're looking for even more matcha goodness, make sure to check out this video where I recreated all of the Starbucks matcha drinks, including 2 secret menu items. These 2 plant-based as the 3rd grade, which is, I can't say it, ceremonial grade. Thaw frozen strawberries.